Hello, Jeremy Chambers, Independence Acres Homestead here. And to open this video, I would like to read a poem to you. Instead of pottage and puddings and custards and pies, our pumpkins and parsnips are common supplies. We have pumpkins at morning and pumpkins at noon. If it were not for pumpkins, we should be undone. Alright, yeah, I know. Strange topic, strange poem. What does this all have anything to do with homesteading? We're doing a collaboration with some other channels to grow some Cherokee tan pumpkins. This is a collaboration that was started by Deep South Homestead and Wanda at Crazy Days. And we're really excited that they've worked hard to get some seeds into our hands so that we can grow them and then propagate, kind of as a pay it forward. And you know, they just wanted to remind everybody that you know, homesteading isn't about doing stuff for ourselves, but it's about doing for the community around us. And so this one's for you, Amy. Well, we're also really excited because, you know, Danny put a lot of work into this also, and also the seeds originally came from Mr. John, and we really want to thank him for making all of this possible. Now, the Cherokee tan pumpkin is one that doesn't really have a lot of information out there. A lot of the stuff we have, you kind of have to read between the lines to see what's out there and what's available. A lot of the information we got directly from Deep South Homestead ourselves, and then some of the other people who had chimed in on some of the other videos and some of the other blog posts concerning the Cherokee tan pumpkin, you know, provided some more information, some more depth. Now, the reason that it's called the Cherokee tan pumpkin is that historically, this is a pumpkin that was grown and harvested and was a mainstay for the Cherokee Native Americans, and that it was actually carried with them when they left their historic grounds and were forced to move westward during the Trail of Tears. Some stories say that this was a seed that was actually sewn into the hem of the garments of the Cherokee women in order to make sure that they always had a way to provide for their families. Now, the great thing about this pumpkin is that it's not like the pumpkins you'd see today. The pumpkins that you see today are just, they're pretty much an abomination to the word pumpkin. Okay, so I don't always open all my videos with poem readings, but I wanted to share that with you. It's actually a poem that was written in about 1630 describing how important pumpkins were to the pilgrims who landed there on Plymouth Rock. It's one of the things that sustained them when their colony was going through some very difficult times. Also, doing some more research about how important pumpkins were to the early arrivals here in the United States. The Colonial Williamsburg, actually, their website has some pretty interesting information about how some of the first Europeans coming to the Americans here, to the Americas, would observe how the Native American women would process and then save their pumpkins. They would cut them into strips and dry them and then reconstitute them, making porridges and soups. They, you know, used it for a variety of different things. When you look at what we have today that are called pumpkins, they're just these large, globulous, orange things that people just cut up, put them on their front porch, and then let them rot for a month. But a real pumpkin was more closely related to the winter squashes that we are familiar with today, in their texture, in their flavor, in their coloration, in their size. So, you know, it's interesting that something that was so important to early life here in the North American continent, to both the Native Americans and to the early colonial settlers, has been so perverted beyond what it was seen as, you know, 300 years ago. And actually, the interesting fact about the pumpkins that we see today is that those weren't developed until about 1970. Can you believe that? It's only taken 50 years for the idea of a pumpkin to completely get perverted and twisted from what it was to what we see today. Now I know there's some some pie varieties, but it still isn't the same as the varieties that we received in the mail. So it's always exciting when you get things in the mail. And when we received this in the mail, we were actually like a day away from heading out the door to go on vacation. So unfortunately, we didn't get a chance to get this video started before we went on vacation. But now that we are here, and we finally got some things settled after getting back from vacation, we're ready to get these suckers going. Now we're going to use our paper towel seed germination in order to get this started. We are in a colder zone, so the zone that we're in here in southeastern Michigan is 6A, right? Which, you know, we're just now getting into spring. This is only like the second day this week where we've actually had some sun and been out of the 60s. So we're going to be actually starting these things inside because I do not want to have a chance for these suckers to not germinate and get into the ground and begin producing for us. Once we get these things germinated, we're going to get them started in seed pots inside. We're going to use our seed starting and seedling heating mats. We're also going to be using our grow lights that we purchased this year that we've had great success with. And we're going to see how good we can do about getting them going in the house. Once they're outside of the house, though, we're still working on a perfect position and place for them here on the homestead. The reason why is because we are big fans of winter squash here on our homestead. And in order to maintain the genetics of these particular seeds, we don't want to plant them too close to any other squash. Because all squash varieties, which pumpkin is a squash variety, all squash varieties are actually going to be able to cross-pollinate. We don't want that to occur. We want to maintain the genetic purity of these seeds we receive from Deep South Homestead. So, you know, we're going to have to try to find the best location in order to maintain that genetic purity for all of these plants. So we need to be at least 30 feet away from our current garden and our current where we're going to have our winter squash in our garden here. So we're still dealing with that, but we are going to do one thing. That's we're going to make sure we give these seeds and these seedlings as much rabbit manure as they can possibly handle. We have found that rabbit manure is just one of the best fertilizers that we can get on our homestead, and it's a free byproduct of our cuniculture that we have going on year-round here on our homestead. So that's going to be our main focus, is using the rabbit manure as our fertilizer. Thank you so much for joining us today on our video as we begin this journey on growing the Cherokee tan pumpkin. Do me a favor, head on over to Deep South Homestead. There's a link in the description here so you can check out exactly what they have been doing over the years, the last 2 years with the Cherokee tan pumpkin. And also just give them a shout out, let them know that we sent you over. And also, if you found this video interesting and you'd like to follow this journey, make sure you like and subscribe so that you'll be able to stay up to date with what's going on as we go through this growing process with the Cherokee pumpkins. And really appreciate you watching and sticking in there with us today. As always, have a great day and God bless.